Guys, I have no sound. Is that correct? Have you started?
Jackie, it's Reese Williams here from the city of Mandurah. I'm not sure that it's started.
Oh, yeah, I think they're just late running. Okay, no worries.
Thanks.
Nice to speak to you.
And to you, and hope everything's going well. And hopefully we can get this meeting underway shortly.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's been quite good. I've managed to feed all my animals, so it's 9 o'clock was hit the 9 o'clock foods this morning.
It's unusual. I'm just talking to the. Can anybody hear us at the secretariat?
Well, I think they're just getting ready, aren't they? We can hear each other, so the sound must be
Yeah,
working.
it's just the city of Mandurah staff have just messaged me saying they're not they're struggling. So I'm just going to ring them and see what's going on. Won't be a second.
Hmm.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Jackie from Wanneroo.
Reese Williams from
How are you,
Mandurah.
Jackie? How are you, Reese? Jackie, how are you?
Good.
So we're waiting for Councillor Coetzee, Councillor Knight.
Jean, I believe they're just connecting now. They should have just connected.
Thank you.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, we can, Aaron.
Yeah,
Um,
Morning, everyone.
just to let you know, Councillor Coetzee is actually at the city, so she's with the city
Okay, well, we don't have
presentation.
them online yet, so we can't see her.
The city are saying they can hear you, but they can't see, but you can't see them.
Oh, it must be that one then. Sorry. They're just not names which we know. So let them in.
Tom Folds is Wanneroo.
No, Mandurah.
Andrew, okay.
Oh, okay.
Thanks,
so there's Aaron.
Sorry, so I think this.
Yes.
On this.
Okay, so Councillor Coetzee, we can see you. Thank you.
There's Caroline.
No, that's
Okay. Oh, that's Caroline. Sorry.
Yes, I'm here.
City of Wanneroo, are you able to?
They're saying it's all good now.
Yeah. So
Okay, we can see the.
We're joining, they're joining as a panelist now.
Okay. Sounds like everybody is ready to go. So I will declare the meeting open, acknowledge traditional owners and the meeting open, acknowledge the traditional owners and pay respect to elders past and present of the land on which the meeting is being held. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies. I have Councillor Bronwyn Smith and Councillor Natalie Herridge. Item 3, members on leave of absence, there are none. Item 4, noting of the minutes, they're all on the MODAP website. Item on the agenda, Part B, declaration of due consideration. Would all panel members, hang on, we were going to see if we could bring item Part C forward of Part B. So do I have an indication from Wanneroo councillors and Mandurah councillors that they're satisfied with that? Just raise your hand, please. Councillor Huntley, you're happy with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, okay. Okay, well, can I have a mover for that? Mr Birch?
Yeah, I can move that.
Seconder, councillor Huntley, thank you, and all are in favour, so thank you very much. All right, well, getting on to part C. Confirm all panel members have considered all the documentation within part C on the agenda. Can you please let me know? Thank you very much. Okay, no disclosures of interest, although there is a standing disclosure of interest on the on all of the agendas. Form 1DAP application, item 3.1. We have the proposed educational establishment for the Catholic Schools Commission. Deputations and presentations. Clayton Plug from Harley Dykstra, is he available?
Yes, I am.
Can't see you, but we can see you're
Yeah.
on online. So would you like to make your presentation, please, Clayton?
Yeah, apologies. I'm not sure why the video feed's not working. I've selected the right options, but anyway, new computer. Good morning, panel members. I appreciate the opportunity and thank you also for moving this one forward, given I hope at least it'll be fairly straightforward.
Now?
Can't hear me?
I can.
Is it just the...
It's technology.
Yeah.
Clayton, we can't hear you.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Jean, we can
Everyone
hear
else.
you online.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Still can't hear Clayton.
We can hear him.
Can you hear him, Bruce?
Yeah.
Everyone else can.
Everyone else can, but we can't. So we'll just wait a second. Fortunately, our technology guru is here waiting to plug us in. We don't have an answer. Let's try that again.
How's that?
We can hear you, Clayton.
You can hear me?
Yes, thank you. Would you
Okay.
continue, please? Apologies for that delay.
No, it's okay. So yeah, I just said good morning and thanks for the opportunity to speak. I apologise for the video feed. I'm not too sure what's causing that on my end. Firstly, I'd just like to thank the city officers for their recommendation on this one once again. I have been given a late call up for this presentation, given Miranda herself from our office had been called up for jury duty this morning. So I'll try and answer any questions if there are any, but I'll also keep this presentation brief, given I simply wish to reiterate the support that the city have provided in their recommendation for this
I wonder who got
application.
the short end of that straw, yourself or the jury duty?
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, happy to speak to you about it. So as you're aware, the site's been identified for an educational establishment for some time under the Mandurah Bay East Local Structure Plan, which underwent significant public consultation before it was endorsed in 2015. So accordingly, this development's been designed cognizant of that fact and that document, as well as cognizant of all other state and local planning policies in the framework. We particularly note the design's been carefully undertaken in a manner that accords with all of the design principles of SPP 7.0, while also providing important community infrastructure by virtue of it being a school, of course, and through other infrastructure such as the footpaths it's providing for the local area. The traffic impacts, which are often a key consideration with any school, have been similarly considered carefully, both via the preparation of a transport impact assessment and through some additional collaboration, which we had recently with the city's engineering team, to ensure that the queuing won't result in unnecessary issues on roads such as Mandurah Beach Road and Mandurah Road, which surround the site. The latest iteration of the car park and access arrangements have therefore adopted a one-way movement network that encourages continuous movement adjacent to the kiss and ride facilities, and it also ensures that the vehicles are able to exit the site without needing to wait in unnecessary queues. Just wanted to make a minor point of clarification. I'm told that there's maybe a miscalculation in the parking section of the report. The total allocation for the parking in stage 1 of this school development will be 67 on site, including 9 kiss and ride bays, plus the 3 additional street bays along Eleanor Drive. Finally, we just like to request a minor amendment to the wording of condition 7 in relation to the provision of a landscaping plan. The wording currently requires that the landscaping plan be approved prior to the commencement of site works. And we'd now like to request that it be reworded to say prior to the implementation of landscaping works. And the reason for that is because the school anticipates an opening in 2025. And so they've progressed all of their tenders and are seeking to commence construction imminently to meet this timeframe, which means they'll have to get started on the construction very soon. So to be able to do so without further delay, they've already submitted to the city as part of the process their construction drawings, and they're hoping that these drawings, plus the fact that they do intend, as is been indicated in the DA, to provide strong landscaping around the site, that this change will be able to occur to the conditions. Importantly, it won't affect the actual quality or implementation of the landscaping, given it's purely an amendment on the timing of when this is approved. So they are, and that's purely because they're seeking to streamline the process, as I've said. Nothing nefarious here, of course. So that was all I wanted to seek a change on, but otherwise I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Panel members, any questions of Mr. Plug? No. Yes, Jackie?
I just wanted to ask, in the transport impact statement, because obviously, as you've mentioned, schools do create some parking issues. There's a recommendation for a parking operational management plan. I was just interested in your comments and possibly the Shire officer or the city officer's comments on that.
Okay, Clayton, would you like to respond?
I don't have too much to comment, other than my understanding is that that's a fairly normal requirement of any school, and it's just to ensure that it flows smoothly through the drop-off and pick-up times. That's probably all I've got to say. Perhaps the city can comment on that further.
Council staff.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, the normal practice, involves a combination of education and parents, but often they'll have a staff member stationed during the drop-off and pick-up times and marshalling parents along. In my experience, that seems to work pretty easily. So I don't think we're talking about anything too complicated. It's something pretty simple.
I guess my point was that you didn't have a condition, recommended condition in your recommendation. So I just wondered whether there was a need for a condition to ensure that management plan was implemented prior to the school operating.
If you'd like me to comment on that,
Well, Clayton.
Is that okay?
Yep.
All I would say is that the parking has been designed very carefully with the city's engineers. We had a meeting with them 2 weeks ago, I think it was, to ensure that there wouldn't be any queuing. So perhaps the need for the parking management plan is negated, but equally I'm not too concerned either way.
Yes, City Manager, have you got a comment on that? Can you hear us, City Manager? Obviously, they can't hear us.
B.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Would you like me to try, Jean? City Manager, can you hear me?
We've just now kept be able to hear you again. So we just had something go quite wrong with our sound system. I did catch the front of your question about there being a lack of condition. I mean, that does probably make sense to include a condition that refers to a parking management plan if that wanted to insert one. Again, as I say, I don't think they were overly complicated. It's doesn't have to be a great deal of work to go into one. It's usually just
Okay, do you
marshalling.
have a standard wording for that?
Don't know that we do. Like it'll be something along the lines of parking management, a parking management plan being prepared and thereafter implemented to the satisfaction of the City of Mandurah. That would be something along those lines. I would assume be okay.
Probably prior to the commencement of the
Prior
use.
to commencing of the use.
Yeah. All right. Ian,
I think the advantage we have with this school is that it's a small intake cohort initially, and it'll be growing along the journey. So I think we've got still plenty of time to iron out any issues that do arise through the next stages.
Discuss that in due course. Ian, you had a question?
No, just Aaron, I wondered, there was I think Department of Transport had a program called Travel Smart that was provided guidance to schools on putting in place management plans. Are you familiar with that? Is that still around?
I'm certainly not familiar with it. I know that this is an interesting scenario when we were preparing the assessment for this, is that if it was a state government school, the guidelines would be in place that the state government provide, even formulating the number of parking provided, and they wouldn't even need an approval. So we sort of had to base it on those guidelines that are produced by the state government, on the basis that we just don't have any provisions in our scheme that mandates numbers, or it's a pretty rare thing. So I'm not aware of that document, Mr. Birch, I'm afraid.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions of the presenter or council staff? No, if not.
No, good, thanks.
Sorry, did they say they were comfortable with the changed wording in the? Were you happy with the change of wording for the landscaping issue?
Sorry, through the chair, yes. We'd already had the conversation. The conversation came just after the RA was published, so we were already very comfortable with it. We just thought this was the only mechanism we could do to unpublish it and republish it. So, yes, very comfortable with that. No problem at all.
Thank you. All right, well, if there's no further questions of the presenter or staff, we can move on to the item. So we can start debate on it. Can I have a mover and second? A move to Mayor Williams. Seconded.
Chairman, just to clarify, I'll be moving the motion with two amendments to the motion. One, to pick up that landscaping component, so landscaping adjustment to the wording to read prior to implementation of the landscaping works. I think that was the wording proposed, if officers are comfortable. And Jackie, if you're comfortable, I may as well add this in now rather than an additional amendment in relation to the parking management plan. So Aaron, I'll just ask for you to repeat those words so that it can be captured as an additional condition.
Yep, so parking management plan shall be prepared and submitted to the city manager, thereafter implemented to the city's satisfaction.
And Jackie, just to circumvent any, are you comfortable with that if that was to be the motion?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. And perhaps the preamble to that, Aaron, would be prior to commencement of the use. Okay. All right. Well, we have the mover with the amendment to it, and the second is agreed. Mayor Williams, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
I'll be very brief, just to say thank you to the proponent. I think it's a really great project, much needed in the Northern Corridor of Mandurah, as that continues to be a hyper-growth area. I do want to acknowledge the way that this has come about and the close work alongside officers to address what was always concerns in these areas, such as parking and the like. I'm particularly impressed with the kind of concept around the landscape and looking forward to seeing the detailed plan. But my sense is that, you know, this notion of a village school is really well captured in the design, and the landscaping seeks to reinforce that. So I'm very happy with the outcome and would encourage the panel to support it.
Thank you. Jackie is the seconder. You want to speak to the motion?
Not really, other than the main issue around schools is always traffic, and I think that's been addressed well, particularly with the proposed modifications to the recommendation.
Thank you, Jackie. Anyone else wish to speak to the item?
my only comment is that Mandurah Bay is a very different place when my family had a beach house there and we used to go there on school holidays. So it's a very different place now. And just in relation to traffic, yeah, the other thing is harking back, I can't remember ever getting a ride to school, but nowadays it seems like just about everyone does. So that's what
Probably had to hitch the
creates
dray
the
up
issue.
to the
Yeah.
horse.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, if there's no further discussion on it, Mayor Williams, do you want to close debate on the item or do we vote straight away?
Only to say that I'm certainly happy with the modes of transport now compared to back in Mr. Birch's day. The kids will be thankful for it.
Thank you, okay. All right, well, I'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we can move back to part B on the agenda and say goodbye to the city of Mandurah.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you. See you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Now, part B, getting Wanneroo back up to the screen. That big truck with that big surfboard that you had to take a 12-footer. Okay. Wanneroo, we've got Councillor Huntley and Councillor Coetzee, she's in the meeting. Okay, City of Wanneroo, Part B. Disclosures of interest, we don't have any.
Sorry, I do have to declare an impartiality that I'm a Yanchep resident who live about 2 kilometres from this specific area.
Sorry, I didn't quite get that, Councillor.
I have to declare an impartiality that I am a Yanchep resident and I live about 2 kilometres from this specific area.
Okay, all right, that'll be noted, thank you.
No, she's back. Sorry, just Jackie dropped off.
Okay, so Jackie has dropped. Oh no, she's back again. Jackie, we can.
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
No, Jackie German. Sorry, Councillor.
Oh, wrong one.
Two Jackies on the go today. Thank you.
Yeah,
We
sorry,
can
I was demoted to attendee and now remoted to panelist. Whatever happened.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, we have the item for the proposed medical centre, and we have presenters: Rebecca Travaglioni, Avril O'Leary, Colin Black, and Mitchell Hart. You can all come and move around there. You have 10 minutes combined presentation.
Start my video? Yes. Yep, if you do that, then we'll get your presentation ready for you.
Okay, we can, if you just twist it around a little bit. So,
Oh, okay. Oh,
okay, well,
there we go.
right,
I see. Okay.
both, thank you.
Okay. Is it going to come on?
Let's proceed. You've got a.
We have a PowerPoint. Yeah. Sorry, we're just
right.
getting that up for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with introductions while we're doing that. So, yeah. Thanks for the meeting this morning and taking time for this. My name is Rebecca Travaglioni from Urbis, so we're the town planners on the project. I have Avril here from ECU, and we also have Mark from TNZ Architects and Colin, who's also from ECU. So we've brought the whole team just for if there's any questions on the project. We're thrilled to reach this step of the project and are very pleased to note the officer's recommendation for approval. We're just requesting 3 condition changes, deletion of 3 conditions. We'll get into that as part of the presentation, but we'll just start off. Avril will just provide a bit of background on this project need and some of the history of the site as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, we can go next slide.
Good morning. So just to give you a little bit of project overview. So the ECU Health Centre Yanchep is an integrated multidisciplinary health centre. It's divided across two sites. So we have site A, which is 101 Mandurah Road, which is an existing medical facility, which ECU have recently refurbished and is almost ready to open. We also have another site adjacent to it, which is 15 Icara Lane, which is subject to DA as it's in a new build. All right, so this facility will provide a range of medical services for the local community and wider community in Yanchep, including general practice, allied health, consultation rooms, psychology, nursing, counselling, midwifery, to name a few. It will also provide ECU placement, clinical placement for ECU students, which will ensure continuity of services moving into the future. To give you a little bit of background on this project, this is a state, this is a state, Commonwealth and ECU funded project, and it is 14 years in the making. So our sponsor, Professor Kobe Rudd, who's the DVC of Regional Futures, championed this initiative 14 odd years ago, as she lived in the area and recognised a lack of health and medical services for the rapidly growing, expanding Yanchep and wider community area itself. Roll forward 14 years and we've now got this facility or this project moving. And I guess from our perspective and her perspective, there's an urgent need for these facilities. And this is really due to the area and the surrounding area experiencing a number of significant increases in health issues, and which are far above the state and national averages. And we're focusing mainly on those areas of concern, which are chronic health disease, emergency department visits, preventable hospitalizations and mental health issues on the rise. So I guess this is why we're here to go through this with you today, to express the urgency of this facility so that we can provide this for the local and wider community.
So this is just the two developments side by side. The area in blue is the existing building, so that's not subject to this application. And the area in red is ECU West. So that's what we're here to address today as part of this application.
Can I just ask a question about that? There's another building to the other side of it, and yet
west of our site. Yeah, that's
the address is that side street, which it doesn't seem
for some reason there's some lots that have their address on Icara Lane, which is the laneway to the south, and then others have, Yanchep Beach Road or to the east. It's,
So that building,
not sure about the addressing, but the building to the west of us. No, that's childcare, so that's separate to us. Yeah. Okay, we can go next slide. Thanks. So these are just showing the two developments side by side, and where they sit relative to each other. Okay, so we can come back to that if needed, but next slide. So just an overview of development. I won't go into all the points, but just to emphasize, it's a two-story building with 10% of the site is landscaping, and that's mostly in the northern forecourt area, which provides a bit of a seating and softens that space. We're providing entry facilities and the car parking base required. So the scope of the DA was just the actual shell of the building, essentially. There's no internal fit out. And that's just because at this stage of the project, there's no tenants confirmed, no occupants confirmed. So obviously if it goes towards more the consulting room side of things, the fit out is going to be quite different to if we move towards more the clinical side, which is going to be obviously larger rooms. So that's the reason why the internal fit out hasn't been included as part of the application. And in terms of staging, it's possible that we're likely to start construction before those leases are confirmed as well. So we didn't want to be tied down to an internal fit out as part of this application, just because it's likely they'll be later stage of the project. Okay, so we'll just go to the next. So we are asking for 3 conditions to be removed. Just before I jump into those, just to kind of step out how this plays out. So this obviously is a government funded project, and the staging of government funding projects varies a lot from a typical commercial development. So this is mainly due to public perception of the project. So once a government project is advertised and made and approved through the the planning approval process, there's a real public expectation that that project's going to be delivered, to budget, to scope as approved. So while typical projects will go through concept design, get their development approval, and then go into detailed design and delivery, our project is literally, we're about to step into delivery. So we've already gone through the concept design stage. We've gone through detailed design and scoping budget works with this as part of the state process. And we are literally, once we get development approval, we're into delivery. So we need a very certain and final approval, and there can't be any ambiguity in the conditions because we're literally about to deliver this development. So that's kind of a bit of the background as to why we're requesting the condition changes. It's really just making sure this project can stick to its schedule and the scope that's been approved through the state processes. Okay, so yeah, I'll jump straight into the conditions themselves then. Oh, sorry, just back one slide, thanks. Yeah, so condition 12, it suggests there's a lack of articulation design and a need for more architectural features. And just look, we just don't agree that the building lacks articulation or local references in the architectural features. So we also think the development far exceeds some of the recently approved adjacent developments in this area. So there's a real inconsistency in what's been expected from applicants in this area. And we also just don't really know what the city is asking for through this condition. There's no supporting guidance, and we basically, it creates a level of uncertainty when we're literally at delivery stage. So just to go through the next couple of slides. So this is our development, and the materiality you see here, there's a deliberate use of sort of sandstone finishes at the ground level, at the corner point, and that's referencing Yanchep dunes. And then with the screening elements, we're deliberately referencing sort of marine elements of the development. So there was a real thought process behind the material selection and the architectural finishes. And if you just go to the next slide again, in terms of consistency and decision making, we have a Caltex which doesn't really show much reference to local materials. There's a self-storage locking facility, which again, there's not much articulation or local materiality. And even just the existing ECU building and the adjacent development, it's concrete, it's colour bond. There's no reference to local material as far as we can tell here. And the level of articulation in our building is identical, if not better, than adjacent developments. So we're just looking for a bit of consistency in decision making here, and just acknowledging that it is a really nice development. It's been designed by TZ Architects, who are really experienced architects. So that's the only reason why we're seeking removal of this condition. We think that we're providing a really solid development here. So we'll go on to the next condition. So condition 13, it's asking for revised internal floor plans to show active public uses to the northern side of the building. I mean, a medical centre use is an active use, and the development design itself has fully glazed ground floor and the landscape forecourt area, which I've kind of highlighted in those two slides. The other point that has to be made is that, look, the internal fit out doesn't require planning approval. So having a condition that reflects an element of the development that doesn't even require approval in the first place is I mean, in my view, it's not a valid condition. And the other point is that just the way that this project is going to be delivered is the conditions, the floor plans likely won't be finalised at building permit stage. It could potentially come later in the project. So we're just a bit concerned that, having to deliver the floor plans prior to building permit just can potentially delay the project. So that's the background to that condition. And then just on to the last one, which is condition 24. And this is requesting an ESD report detailing how the development can implement sustainability measures. So we did meet with the city pre-lodgement and agreed to a set of reports to be provided as part of the application. And this wasn't as part of their list, and that would have been the stage of the project that we could have delivered something like this. This late, at approval stage, condition stage, it just can't really be incorporated without creating some risk to the project. The other thing is we have done a sustainable design review process as part of the state approval process. So the state dictates what they expect a development to achieve, and we're providing those, and we did provide those measures to the city during assessment. So I guess what that draws down to is we're a bit concerned that this condition is a duplication of process that's kind of already occurred. And the value that it adds to the development isn't, it's not really very clear, but the risk again is delay to the project. So that's basically it from us. Overall, it's a modest development, but it's a really important development for the Yanchep region. And it is a government project, which means we have to be really certain with how these conditions are going to play out. And we're just requesting those 3 conditions be removed on that basis. So we're happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the presenters, please?
I have one. Could administration please let us just know why condition 12, 13 and 24 is on there? What's the exact need for those? Why?
Through the chair, we saw an opportunity to impose conditions of this development based on advice from our design review panel. Those are opportunities for the design to be improved, and as a result, we propose these conditions in an attempt to improve the design.
Sorry, we couldn't really hear that all too well, but I think it's to do with the bell rating. Is that correct?
No, not a bushfire area. They just said that it was conditions intended to improve the design.
Sorry, what condition number was that?
13 and 24 they're referring to, Jean.
Oh, okay, fine.
12.
Would you like me to repeat the answer, presiding member?
Just tell us, yes, just go ahead. It was a bit muffled. We couldn't quite understand it.
For you, presiding member, yeah, the conditions, in summary, the conditions were imposed based on advice from our design review panel. Attachment 4 provides the design review panel advice, and we've derived that advice and turned them into those conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on that?
Yeah,
Mr. Birch?
thank you, Chair. In relation to, well, all three conditions, I suppose my question is, on what authority do you impose those conditions? Do you have a particular policy, or are you relying on the regulation 67 for? I'm talking about all three conditions, I guess.
I suppose, yeah, the DRP advice, I suppose, stems from policy guidance in SPP 7.0, which is the built design state planning policy.
Okay, thank you. And just in relation to condition 13, you're looking for an activation of that northern frontage of the building. I gather that's the purpose of that.
That's right. Yes, correct.
But it does seem to be a long way from the street, and also from looking at the aerial photo, would be largely screened. So there is a footpath nearby, but certainly from the street itself, there wouldn't seem to be much impact at that development, or visual impact, or activity that you would experience.
So through you, presiding member, yes, so Yanship Beach Road, there is long-term plans to duplicate it, so the road will come closer to the development in time. The panel still consider that there is an opportunity to improve the design at the front, particularly activating that use on the northern side. Apologies, sorry. But someone, would you like me to continue, sorry?
Yes.
Go ahead, yes.
Yes. So our design review panel saw that opportunity to activate that space on the northern side. There may be an opportunity if the panel would like to consider just activating the use immediately around the entrance rather than that entire side. That may still, for us, that would still be an improvement of the design on that facade, or on that side, sorry.
And it wasn't a panel consideration, it was one of the members. Was that review conducted with the applicants? Because normally the applicants would attend a panel meeting.
Yeah.
So through the presiding member and to clarify, Mr. Birch, yes, it was an individual member of our panel that provided that advice to us. Yes.
Okay.
Chair, I think the applicants.
The applicant, yes. I'm just going back, just a general question. You've seen that they've requested deletion of 3 conditions. Have you had discussions with the applicants in regard to that? And how does the council staff feel about deleting the conditions?
Through the chair, I personally haven't had discussions with the applicant and the other presenters today. In terms of your question, how do we feel about the deletion of the conditions? Again, the conditions do, in our opinion, enhance the could potentially enhance the design of the development, but it doesn't affect. Ultimately, I don't see it affecting its function too much. And I don't see how we would be in a compromised position, if you like, if those conditions were to be deleted. But in our opinion, they should remain, to enhance design.
And the actual argument that the presenters put forward that these conditions lack certainty and they're also not valid in a sense. What's your answer to those?
The answer to those is that the panel could consider the timing of when those elements are meant to be addressed, potentially. I know condition 13, for example, I've got this in front of me, talks about prior to submission of a building permit, that can be delayed until a later time in the process.
That's for number 12.
Yeah, and number 13 also has a similar.
So would they have to go back to a design review panel, seeing as they weren't asked for by a design review panel? I'm just thinking that we're going to create a delay in their process by asking for additional information that may or may not may have suitable power to impose. And secondly, it'll have to go back through another design review panel assessment. Or who's going to determine the suitability of what you're asking for?
Not necessarily. We can engage panel members without having to go through the formal design review panel meeting process. As I reiterated before, the panel may be inclined to consider the timing that those conditions are to be met, rather than prior to the submission of an initial building permit. It could be at the fit out stage, where where those elements are to be addressed instead.
In regard to condition 12, it says the revised elevation must address the lack of articulations in the design. Yes. Who assessed it to have a lack of articulation?
It was the member. It was a design review panel member that came to that conclusion. And
that was post the DRP meetings?
We didn't have a DRP. No, we didn't have a DRP meeting. We just engaged with a member directly, and they provided the advice on attachment 4.
And this was just one member of how many?
How many members have we got? We've got 3 members at the moment. This was just one member that provided the advice.
Okay, so the other 2 didn't provide any advice?
No.
Okay.
Can I add a bit of background to the way that's played out?
Okay, just in a moment.
Sure,
Yeah.
no problem.
And the same with the active public uses on the northern side of the building?
That's correct. So this all came from the one panel member.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so we consulted with the city before we lodged the application on the need for a design review panel meeting, and the feedback was that we didn't need one for this development, just to the scale and functionality of it. But they did, so instead they just basically internally provided a copy of the application to one member. Yeah, just for internal recommendations. I think my main concern is there just hasn't been a planning filter applied to the feedback. Yep. And we did provide a response to the design review panel comments when we were provided the feedback. And as far as I'm concerned, we closed out the materiality and articulation references, but the conditions still been.
Then you saw the conditions.
Yeah, it's still in the conditions. Yeah.
All right, and just to council staff again, condition 24.
Yes.
ESD report. You've seen the argument from the presenters that they did present an assessment of ESD. How do you respond to that
Providing that those measures are somehow embedded in a condition, the panel members may decide that. I mean, the members may decide that a environmentally sustainable development report may be onerous, but providing that the measures that the applicant's already provided are somehow embedded into the conditions, I think we can agree to that.
In terms of the conditions, they're embedded in the design of the building, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, but there's also the state approval process, so it's kind of embedded through that. It's, it's
okay. All right. Sorry. Yes, you've answered all my questions to date. Other panel members wish to ask any further questions? Yes, Jackie.
Sorry.
Councillor Huntley, thank you.
Going to say which one? Yeah, just looking at the elevation photos on oh, I don't know what page it is. It's the second elevation photo, which shows the isometric view from northeast and from southwest. I can see in that back corner there is obviously the car parks coming in there, but there are no. That's an ideal place where you could put the shade trees in. That's really the only thing that I might ask you to sort of add there, and I'm sure if that went through an environmental panel, that's probably what they would be saying. Where are the shade trees for the car park? You do have an ideal position there to put some up, and that really does help. But other than that, I can't see why you would go through an environmental process again. That sustainable development report really, yeah, I can see that you have covered most of it, and I would be happy with that. That's the only thing I would suggest, that if anything, you get some trees in the back. But as for 24, yeah, I'm agreeing with the panel. I think that question's been answered. 12 and 13, I'm still out on those at the moment. So, but my question is on 13, on that floor plan, is there a basic floor plan you can give of the rooms that would be set, e.g. boardrooms, anything like that, or is it better to just leave that blank?
We just don't want to burden the future tenants to a particular floor plan. So it could literally be that the building is constructed and the tenant mix is still being confirmed even after the building is more or less complete. So I guess the way we look at it is the benefit of providing it. We're pretty confident that we're going to deliver a high level of activation, which was the purpose of the condition. And so there's not much benefit, but there's a lot of potential risk.
Yeah, and you've got that's on 2 stories as well, isn't it?
2 stories,
yeah. Yeah, look, I've seen your ECU building that you've done here, and yeah, I can see exactly what you mean, because you totally changed the floor plan out on one of the on a whole level. So I can see that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Huntley, you have any further questions?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Jackie German.
Yeah, I just want to make the comment that that with regards to condition 24, that the applicant seems to have provided that information, even though it's not in a formal report, that it seems to be within and embedded in the development. My questions were more around to the Shire staff regarding conditions 7, 8 and 9, which don't seem to have any timing associated with those conditions. And I was just interested on whether that was just hadn't been done, or whether there was an intent behind that.
Council staff.
Through the chair, so condition 7, 8 and 9, that would all relate to prior to occupancy, I would assume. The wheel stop's being provided in the car park, the speed hunt's being provided would would have to occur after the car park area is designed, and the same with condition 7. So you would create the easement, I suppose, at a time when you could survey the site more accurately, and that would be probably closer to occupancy rather than immediately.
Yeah, which is what I was thinking too. So to provide some certainty for the applicant, really those 3 conditions should have prior to occupation or prior to use, to provide that certainty for timing and requirements of the expectations of the Shire, or the city, sorry.
Okay. In regard to condition 7, the easement is there an easement on the adjoining site in favour of this lot already?
I believe through you, presiding member, I believe not.
So they'd have to be, they're both owned by the same
They're both ECU.
entity.
Yeah.
So you'd have to create an easement over both lots to do that.
Yeah, so the other lot has actually been included as part of the application. So we include it on the forms.
Yep.
So we can do that, yeah.
Okay, all right. Right, thank you. Any further questions? If not, then we can move on to the item for discussion. Thank you for your presentation and answering questions. Can we move on to the item for discussion amongst the panel?
So just have,
Sorry, Mr. Burge.
it's really not relevant, but I just wondered, it's unusual to see the university providing a public health facility. Is there a learning element to this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there an association with the university as well?
Yes, there's clinical placements provided for ECU students, so ensures continuity of services in the area. So that's really the whole premises from the ECU perspective.
Okay, thank you. No, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so do we have a mover and seconder for the item? Okay, moved Councillor Huntley. And a seconder? Yes, Councillor Coetzee. Before we go into it, there's a number of amendments that might be foreshadowed that if we can have agreement with the mover and seconder on those, we may be able to, although there is a number, I think we might take them one by one.
Mm.
Okay, all right, Councillor Huntley and Councillor Coetzee, if you want to move or agree to any conditions under the mover and seconder, then let us know. Otherwise, speak to the motion, Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, I'm really happy with what is planned for here. Obviously, it is totally necessary to go there. As for the removal of the conditions, I am happy that 12, 13 and 24 be removed for this particular building. However, I would just like to ask, would this set a precedence in the future?
I would think so. These applications are individually assessed, and there's no reason for this application to set precedent for other sites. Yeah, this is for a medical centre. I'm not quite sure how many more medical centres we're going to get applications for, but council staff, I'm sure you can reiterate that.
No, I agree. Remember, I agree with that assertion.
Yeah, and I'm just going to ask the council staff: are you happy if we actually do take away these 3? Because I really think that that we have had the information that you're requesting here, and I do feel that this is a necessary building that needs to go up, and I can totally understand why they want to get it up quite quickly. And I think we would be holding it up for really not much outcome.
Okay, we can do that with the mover and seconder. Agree. Councillor Coetzee, if you're in agreement with that, then we can deal with that administratively through the mover and seconder?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I am in agreement with that.
Okay, thank you. Any further to add, Councillor Huntley, in terms of the moving, expanding on?
Yeah, I only say I'm happy with that. I think it's great that they've put 70 on-site parking bays. They've also got the Acro bays in there. The opening times, Monday to Friday, 7 till 7 p.m. I was wondering, does that stop you having a night consultation there?
It would, yeah. The reason the condition has been applied is we haven't provided an acoustic report at this stage. If we do need to extend the hours, we can come back and amend the condition. My personal view is that there's not going to be an acoustic issue on the site, but until we provide the evidence, I understand the need for the condition. So.
Form 2.
Okay, all right, you're happy with that. Okay, no worries. Yeah, I don't have any further questions. Thank you. I'm happy to move this.
Okay, Councillor Coetzee, do you want to speak to the item?
I'm definitely in support of this proposal. The NHIP is definitely in need of more medical services. I'm happy with the report and also the conditions, and by taking away condition 12, 13 and 24. Thank you.
Okay, just getting back to the conditions 7, 8 and 9. If we can get the mover and seconder to agree that the wording prior to occupancy of the development in front of each one of those conditions, that would tidy up Jackie German's request.
Yes. I've just seen my notes here. It says prior to use. Yes, yeah, that's fine to put those in front.
Prior to commencement of the use, yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Coetzee, you happy with that as well?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councillor Coetzee, sorry, you can speak to the item if you wish.
I'm just happy with the report and with it going ahead.
Okay, Mr. Birch, you want to say anything on the item?
Thank you, Chair. I support the recommendation as amended. We always hear of the struggle to keep up with the demands of health, and it's interesting that aside from the Department of Health, other bodies are coming in and contributing. And so in terms of the use, it's very important. It's in an appropriate location. I support all the amendments to the conditions. I've got to say the elevations can be a bit misleading. They do look a bit grim, but when you see the renders, I think they've done a very reasonable job in presenting the building. So I don't necessarily agree with the DRP member. And having said that, I think that generally DRPs have been a valuable contribution. I think they have added value to planning decisions, but I think in this case, I take another view. I'm not totally convinced that it's interesting that the floor plans, whether they require planning approval or not, they can influence planning elements. Like, for example, a shop. You don't want the shop at the back. You want it on the street. So, but in any event, I think in this case, I think that's reasonably handled. And in relation to condition 24, there I'm swayed by the fact that the government funding of this building, and they have their measures in place. So I think maybe it's not necessarily a reason for supporting something, but I think at the end there could be an argument, and I'm pretty sure I know who'd win that argument. So I'm prepared to support the deletion of that condition. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll just simply reiterate, endorse the comments made by the previous presenters. I think the building is fit for purpose. There's been quite a bit of thought given to the layout, the landscaping, the presentation to the street front, and I'm supportive of the amended conditions, and I will be supportive of the vote. Jackie, you haven't spoken, so I'll invite you to speak as well.
Yeah, I'm also supportive of the amended recommendation, and I think, yeah, as other people have indicated, it's a good development and definitely something that's required.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion on it, Councillor Huntley, do you wish to close debate on the item?
Yes, thank you, through the chair. So I'm really happy with it as amended. And I also note that as I did say, it would be great to get some more trees in there, but I think 14 covers that really well in their landscaping plans, which they need to submit. You know, just be mindful of the tree canopy. We're desperate for tree canopy, and that car park needs some shade. So that would be great if that could be put in there. But I think that's that will be sorted out with the city. So I'm really pleased. I think it covers everything that I was worried about, and yeah, happy to support. So yeah, happy to take this to the vote.
Good. Well, I'll put the item for the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. Along on the agenda. Part D is item 4. Step applications, there's none. Section 5, item 5, no reconsiderations. Part D, no SAT applications, Supreme Court appeals, they are all listed. On general business, if there's no general business, I'll close the meeting at 10:38 a.m. Thank you very much, presenters, council staff, and panel members. And I wish you all goodbye.
Thank you, presiding member. Thank you, members.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
No worries.
See you tonight.
Bye, guys.
Bye.